Hello again, here we are. Now, this past week, I left you with a thought about comparing your body with your car. And you remember the story I told was the summation was just as your body, or rather, just as your car is a lifeless mass of matter without the spark provided by the battery that ignites the engine and keeps it alive, so your body is a lifeless mass of matter without the spark provided by your consciousness, your soul, your spirit, whichever word you prefer, that ignites your body and keeps it going. So, with that in mind, oftentimes in dreams, it's often thought that the body can be represented as a car. Because why? The car is a vehicle that takes you places. And in a sense, the body is a vehicle that sort of takes that inner sense of who we are, that spirit, soul, the consciousness, through life as a kind of a vehicle. So, in that regard, if you think about it, are you really your body? Because, in a sense, you're no more your body than you are your car when you're driving it. Would you say, I'm my car? I'm the driver of my car. Or even if your car is a driverless car, it's the artificial intelligence that's doing the driving. It's still something that's felt to be somewhat separate from the vehicle. So in that regard, in these next weeks, we're going to be taking steps toward enlightening our mind. And I use that term in the sense as I use the title of my book. If my shadow's in the lead, that means my back is to the light. Now, that came to me one day when I was walking down toward the Brandywine River along an asphalt pathway leading to the river. And suddenly I noticed my shadow was moving in front of me. And I thought, geez, if I speed up, my shadow speeds up. So my shadow is ever elusive to me. Now, if I turn around and I face the light as I did, facing the sun beautifully, shining in that blue sky, cloudless sky that day, through the trees, I could see it. And I felt this bathing in this warm light. And I thought, gee, when I turn to the light and I move toward it, my shadow follows me. Now, what that reminded me was a passage from Matthew in which Christ is saying, don't worry about what you're going to eat and what you're going to clothe your body with and worry about these material things. Seek first the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven, that inner spaciousness, and all these things will be added. Now, on a psychological level, just stepping back from the spiritual for a minute, when we focus on what we would love to have happen and really feel it, see it, feel it, it can come reality. So when you don't postpone happiness seeking something and once I attain the goal, I'll feel good. Instead, if you begin to feel good in advance, let's take something simple like I mentioned with golf. I want to hit it on the green and not in the water hole. As I picture and feel in my consciousness hitting it onto the green instead of the water hole, I'm most likely to have that happen and enjoy it in advance, imagining it. So that's the idea too. You turn to the light and feel as if it's going to happen, and your body's organized that way. So your body, mind, and spirit are aligned. Your consciousness is aligned with your body and mind for it to happen. So in this sense, what we're going to be doing is really turning to see who we really are as that first person knowing experience that's an element of everything we ever experience. That light, if you will. Now think about that. Think about what it means to be enlightened. Now, Buddha said that enlightenment was the end of suffering. I would say it's a transcendence of suffering, and we'll get into that in a moment. Now, it could also be said that enlightenment or an enlightened mind is one that realizes that who and what we really are is the light of consciousness whose very nature is love, peace in the mind, and joy throughout our body, like a joie de vivre, as they say in French. So, how do we know that? Well, psychology at the beginning of the millennium began to study positive emotional states. So much had been done looking at psychopathology. and anxiety and various dysfunctions and various psychopathologies, OCD and all that, and attention deficit. And now it began to take a look at what is involved with people who are really feeling good, who are happy. Let's study them. And that was Martin Seligman, who was in the year 2000 was the president of the American Psychological Association. And since that time, there's been quite a bit of that. Now, when I first began my practice, curiously, a little boy came in and he said, Dr. Jackson, are you a real doctor? You don't look like the guy who sent me here. He had on a white coat and this thing around his neck that he used to listen to my heart with. And I said, well, Tommy, that doctor has different letters after his name. He's got MD, which means he's a medical doctor. He gives you medicine when you don't feel well. And I said, I'm a PhD, which means I'm a people's happiness doctor, and I'm your personal happiness doctor. So I'm here to help you find out why you're unhappy and how you can become happy again. Now, in this new material that I'm going to be presenting, which is instead of transforming stress and feeling the negative emotion and then bringing it back to a love focus so we can move toward what we'd love to have happen, now we're going to begin to look at who we are in the depths of our being, who that deeper you, that deeper I. When you say I, you usually mean our mind and our body in some way, but this deeper I, the more fundamental I, that's always present, that light of consciousness, that's what we're going to be taking a look at. Now, in the study of the happiness state of mind and so forth, in my experience, I began to see, I'd met, first of all, in person, these Mayan shamans in Guatemala, and I studied with them, and they were just the light in their eyes. I mean, that's it. That's a concrete light of joy emanating from them. And some of them lived in very sort of simple surroundings, very simple life. You know, we did the sacred fire ceremonies, and they were really people of the earth, did some farming and so forth, didn't have a lot of appliances and whatnot, of modern society conveniences, but they were just beaming. Now, later I met a woman from India who would come to the Philadelphia area named Karuna Mai, also known as Alma. And she was someone that people would go and have a brief encounter with, stand in line, and she would say a few words. And it was said that, there was something that she was an enlightened being. And another one was named Shri Ma. She also, people would go in line. And both of these women, when I saw them, their eyes were light. And that's why sometimes people keep a picture of their guru later. And it's not really the physical flesh form of the guru. It's the light beaming through that guru. It's that light of consciousness. So these people are among the most happy people in all the world. These people in the Himalayas, in these areas where in ancient India, there were such, and there's photos of them, and on YouTube you can see Ramana Maharshi, you can see Swami Rama, and others. And so my path has been crossing with a study of these kind of people and to see what it is. And what it is about what we're going to be learning over the next 12 weeks. We're going to take a step at a time and begin to disidentify ourselves with what we're entangled with usually. So I want you to think of it as like we're going to be sort of digging up a tree, a small tree, and we have to dig all around it and so forth, and to try to get all the roots so we can transplant it. Now, we're going to be transplanting, that is, our identity from that of identifying with this and this to that in which this and this are appearing and disappearing over time. Because as you look at your body, has your body always been the same throughout your whole life? The answer is no. Look at old photos. See yourself at 4. See yourself as an infant. See yourself as a elementary school child. One of those pictures. See yourself as in junior high or middle school, high school, college, as a young adult, as an older adult, as a senior citizen if you're there, as I am. And notice the body has been changing all the time. So this first affirmation we're going to be saying is this: I am not this body. Breathing in, I am not this body. Why? Because this body is always changing. Even in the course of a day, the things that are happening in the body, the digesting, the breathing, the blood pumping through the heart and so forth, there's a lot of changes taking place. And so even in the course of a day, there's changes. But over time, you can see how you're not that same body. And yet, I am that in which the body has been appearing in these various guises and forms, and I am not changing. Now, so think about that. Do you feel yourself to be a different person? That was a different you that was 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 and so forth? Or do you feel like you're essentially the same person? Now, a lot more experience since you were 5, a lot more knowledge and so forth, more intelligence, more skills and so forth. Yet, don't you feel that you were that's pretty much the same you? You don't look and say, that's somebody else. No, that's me at a younger age, at an older age, in the middle as well. I mean, so in that regard, I am not my body. Why? Because my body is ever changing, and I am that which is the ever constant awareness within this body. Now, number 2, I am not this body. Why? Because this body is seen. I see my arms and legs. Now, I see my hand. Does my hand see me? No, I see my hand. So I am not my body because, why? Because my body is seen and I am the seer. Next, I am not my body. Breathing in. Pause, ask why? Because my body is experienced by me and I am the experiencer. Now again, I am not my body. Why? Because my body is known by me and I am the knower and my body is the known. Now, look at your hand. Does your hand know you or do you know your hand? Okay, next. I am not my body. Pause. Why? Because my body is a composite of flesh, blood, and bone, and organs, and blood vessels, and teeth, and hair, and eyes, and arms, and legs, and nails, and so forth. And I am something, a consistent knowing of this, all this. So I am essentially one. I experience myself as one something, and my body is many. And again, breathing in, I am not my body. Why? Breathing out, because my body is seemingly like an outer covering, and I feel myself to be something that's inside here. So think about it. Don't you feel your body to be something almost that you're wearing, again, like we started with, a vehicle that carries you through? And aren't you that which is within that? Call it a soul suit, my soul suit for my soul, or my corporeal costume within which my consciousness resides. So think about that. So as you go through this week, the practice is going through, I'm not my body. Why? Because my body is many and I am one. Because my body is known and I'm the knower. Because my body is seen and I'm the seer. Because my body is changing and I'm that which is unchanging. Because, and so forth. Going through and just doing a little reminder each day and beginning to get in touch with that little bit of a separation between who you are and this. Ultimately, we're all one in some sense, body, mind, and spirit, and so forth, but we're disidentifying. Roberto Saggioli, the Italian Freud back in the day, used to call this the disidentification exercise. And he would say, I have a body, but I am not my body. My body is changing, but I am not changing. The same kind of principle. It came out of his book, Psychosynthesis. Okay? So that's your next assignment. We're going to stay with this. Think about, even get out old photos. I am not my body. Why? Because my body's been changing. And you can just see that panoply of images of who you were. Okay, so with that, I hope you'll have a great week. And remember, I am not my body. I am that which knows my body, sees my body, and so forth. Take care.